Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has made a bold prediction. Vladimir Putin's days are numbered. Zelensky, facing the relentless onslaught of Putin's war machine, sees vulnerability in the aging Russian leader. He points to Putin's age, a man nearing his 8th decade, as a factor. Time, Zelensky suggests, is not on Putin's side. There's a growing sense that Putin's grip on power might be slipping. Zelensky's prediction isn't based solely on Putin's age. He believes Putin is deeply afraid of losing the power he's ruthlessly consolidated over decades, afraid of the consequences of his actions in Ukraine, consequences that could be both personal and political. This fear, Zelensky argues, is driving Putin to increasingly desperate measures. The recent wave of drone attacks on Ukrainian soil seems to support Zelensky's claims. Over 117 strikes were recorded, targeting civilians and infrastructure. Kryvyi Rih, Zelensky's own birthplace, wasn't spared. Neither were Sumy, Donetsk, Kharkiv, or Zaporizhzhia. These attacks, Zelensky argues, are not the actions of a leader confident in victory. They are the desperate flailings of a man terrified of losing everything. Putin's endgame in Ukraine remains unclear. Some speculate that he seeks to crush Ukrainian resistance entirely and absorb the country into a new Russian empire. Others believe his goals are more limited, aiming to secure a land bridge to Crimea and cripple Ukraine's ability to resist Russian influence. Whatever his ultimate objective, one thing is certain: Putin's war has already come at a tremendous cost. Zelensky believes that Putin's grip on power is not as firm as it appears. The war in Ukraine, far from bolstering Putin's image as a strongman, has exposed cracks in his regime. Economic sanctions have bitten deep into the Russian economy, and the mounting casualties on the battlefield have eroded public support for the war. Putin's fear of destabilization goes beyond the potential for popular unrest. Within the halls of the Kremlin, whispers of dissent are growing louder. Oligarchs, once blindly loyal, are seeing their fortunes dwindle. Military leaders, frustrated by the war's slow progress and heavy losses, are beginning to question Putin's strategy. The fear of a palace coup, once unthinkable, now hangs heavy in the air. Putin, known for his paranoia and ruthlessness, is surrounded by enemies both real and imagined. Every advisor, every general, every member of his inner circle is a potential threat. In this atmosphere of suspicion and fear, even the most loyal can become suspect. Zelensky's prediction of Putin's downfall is not a guarantee but a possibility. The factors he identifies, Putin's age, his fear, the growing instability within Russia, are all real and present dangers to Putin's continued rule. Whether these dangers will ultimately topple the Russian leader remains to be seen. Putin's war aims in Ukraine remain a subject of intense debate. Some analysts believe that Putin seeks nothing less than the complete subjugation of Ukraine. They point to his rhetoric, which often frames the conflict in existential terms, as evidence of his desire to erase Ukrainian identity and absorb the country into a new Russian empire. Others argue that Putin's goals are more limited, at least in the short term. They believe that he is primarily focused on securing a land bridge to Crimea, the peninsula Russia annexed in 2014, and on crippling Ukraine's ability to resist Russian influence. This view suggests that Putin is willing to negotiate a settlement, albeit one that would leave Ukraine significantly weakened and dependent on Russia. The recent drone attacks, while indiscriminate and brutal, could be interpreted as a sign of Putin's desperation to achieve his objectives, whatever they may be. Facing mounting losses and stiff Ukrainian resistance, Putin may be resorting to increasingly desperate measures in an attempt to break the stalemate and force a resolution in his favor. The Black Sea ceasefire, brokered by Turkey and the United Nations, offered a glimmer of hope for a negotiated settlement. However, the agreement, which allowed for the resumption of grain exports from Ukrainian ports, has been marred by delays and accusations of violations by both sides. The Fragile Truce highlights the deep mistrust between Russia and Ukraine, and the challenges of finding a lasting peace. The Black Sea ceasefire, while a positive step, has done little to quell the violence. Drone attacks continue, a stark reminder that peace remains elusive. The agreement, focused narrowly on grain shipments, hasn't addressed the broader conflict. It serves as a band-aid on a gaping wound. Adding another layer of complexity to the situation is former U.S. President Donald Trump's perspective. Known for his unconventional views and business acumen, Trump has speculated that Russia might be deliberately prolonging the conflict. He draws parallels to his own negotiating tactics, suggesting that Putin might be waiting for the most opportune moment to strike a deal, maximizing his leverage. While Trump's views are often met with skepticism, his analysis introduces an intriguing possibility. Could Putin be playing a long game, using the conflict to weaken Ukraine and the West while consolidating his own power? The answer remains shrouded in the fog of war. The conflict in Ukraine is far from over. It's a complex and evolving situation with global implications. Zelensky's prediction of Putin's downfall, the ongoing drone attacks, the fragile Black Sea ceasefire, and Trump's unique perspective all add to the uncertainty. The world watches and waits, hoping for a swift and just resolution, but bracing for a protracted and bloody conflict.